industries today. They'll share their experiences and insights on pursuing a successful career. I do also want to send a special thanks to today's event sponsors. We have University of Chicago Women's Alliance, the University of Chicago Booth Women's Network, My Tea Coach, Dragon Eagle TV, and the Alliance for Impact. If you're not familiar with these organizations, I do encourage you to go take a moment and read a little bit more about them, because they're all very impactful, for the most part, nonprofit organizations. And I also want to apologize, I'm having some issues with my video, so if you see me go offline for a couple minutes, I'll try to pop right back on. So my name is Nishay Nave. I'm the Group Product Manager of Consumer Electronics in DuPont at the Silicon Valley Innovation Center here. I'm also a University of Chicago MBA alumni, and I'll be moderating today's event. Really excited today to be joined by 3 very successful female executives, and they'll share their journeys, a little bit about their personal experiences, challenges, and accomplishments with us. So to start off, we have Vindhya Dayananda. Vindhya Dayananda. Vindhya is a senior executive and investor in healthcare technology. She has blended her experience as an operator and advisor in mergers and acquisitions to lead strategic investment decisions in growth stage healthcare businesses. She is currently leading an inorganic growth-driven investment strategy at Revealer. Prior to joining Revealer, Vindhya was at Oak HTFT, supporting the investment thesis generation in value-based care. She also has 5 years of investment banking experience at William Blair, leading sell-side transactions in healthcare technology sector. Vindhya holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Economics from the University of Chicago and an MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. Outside her professional interests, she's served on the Young Professionals and Guild Board for the Lyric Opera of Chicago since 2017. Vindhya is a Sri Lankan national and has been living in the San Francisco area since 2018. Our next panelist is Morgan Lin. Morgan is a senior manager of technical product management at Amazon. She has expertise leading teams in product development, engineering, go-to-market for high-growth technology companies. Morgan has more than 10 years of strategy, operations, and program management experience. She has a well-balanced background in product strategy, engineering, and sales operations. Morgan is an ex-McKinsey consultant, project management professional certified, and holds a master's degree in engineering and an MBA from the University of Chicago. And last but not least, we have Kathy Pung. Kathy is the CEO of ROCKS Global. ROCKS stands for Results-Oriented Consulting Services, a global consulting and executive recruiting company located in the Silicon Valley. She started as an engineer and has had a long career journey. She has worked in supply chain management, global branding and marketing, sales and business development, general management executive positions with Fortune 100 companies and startups, and she has become a very successful CEO. Kathy has conducted business in over 40 countries, having lived and worked in Asia, Europe, and the United States. As an Asian female, she has climbed corporate ladders and has won awards such as Top 50 Global Most Diverse Leaders, Global Woman of the Year for IoT, Top 10 Women CEOs of 2022 by Industry Era magazine. And Kathy lives by her motto, impossible equals I'm possible. If all of that isn't impressive enough, Kathy is also the founder of Kathy's Fun Fitness, a nonprofit organization that hosts everyday led Zoom fitness classes for almost 3 years. She has about 400,000 entries to join, and it's become one of the largest online fitness platforms in North America, bringing joy and happiness to many people and families. So welcome to all the panelists, and welcome all of you for joining today's session. Just a quick, as I mentioned earlier, feel free to chat in any questions throughout the session, and we'll address those at the end. And then I would like to kick off the first question to the panelists. So you guys are all very successful in your respective industries. Could you share a little bit about how you've driven your own career success? And I will kick it off to Vindhya to start.
Thank you, Nishay, and thanks for that intro. First of all, I just want to say it is so wonderful to be here. To be able to get, I'm looking at the participants here, 100+ women together on, in a wonderful way to celebrate all of our achievements collectively. It couldn't make me happier. So wonderful question, Nishay. So, it's interesting as I look back at where it all began. I was an international student. I grew up in Kathmandu, Nepal. I'm originally from Sri Lanka. And, as I thought about what next, I obviously had the help and support of my family and my counselors, but I think thinking beyond and bigger than what I already knew, taking a big risk was really sort of it set the tone and the theme for the rest of my career. And I say that as I went into my undergraduate years at the University of Chicago, quite frankly, I graduated in a very tumultuous time. 2009 was terrible for anyone, especially for an international student looking for a sponsorship. Oh, and hey, a job, it just wasn't great. But I decided to take a different route. I took a risk again on an operating role. Working between the CFO and CEO of what went on to become a multi-billion-dollar company. And that risk really paid off. It wasn't easy. I had to start, in a place where there was a lot of uncertainty about my role and trying to understand my role and how to carve it out to be more meaningful to the different functions across this organization, the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. But, as it turns out, a lot of the time taking on a big risk and working day and night, thinking about it, dreaming about it, it turns out, it helps make it a reality. The only other thing I'll maybe add before letting and passing on the baton to another panelist is, I think saying yes to every meeting, saying yes to every conversation, being open to just about any interaction, but showing up to that interaction with genuine curiosity, has led to all of the sort of things that I am, have been able to achieve today. I'll just give you one example. Graduating from Chicago, I played tennis all 4 years. I was an All-American, and I committed all 4 years to do it. As I was leaving my last match, I remember a gentleman walked up to me and asked me, "Hey, so what are you going to do when you graduate?" And I was like, "I honestly don't know. I got to leave. I got to pack my bags. I have a master's degree that I accepted in Manchester, the UK." And he looked at me, he's like, "Well, why not would you interview as an accounting, in a very accounting sort of role at the Cancer Treatment Centers of America?" Of course, I was like, yes. Took an 1.5-hour train to Schaumburg, navigating that. And I mean, honestly, it led to an entire career, 5-year career, where I ended up reporting to him and the CFO. And I'll just say that's just one of many examples where I've walked into a conversation and it's become, it's turned into a lot more than that.
Excellent. Thank you, Vindhya. That's very inspiring. Next, I'll turn it over to Morgan to answer the same question. So you're very successful in your industry of tech. So could you share a little bit about what has driven your own career success?
Thank you. Similarly, I want to say I'm so grateful for having the opportunity to share my experience and have a discussion with all the audience as well as the panelists. So very grateful for everyone's time here and really appreciate the opportunity. It's absolutely my honor to be here. In terms to be success, I think it's all relevant. If I be super honest, I do not think currently I'm successful per se, but I'd be happy to share like what is driving me so far. I think currently, if you look at my resume, people say, "Oh, you are in tech. You're with Google. You're with Amazon. You're with McKinsey." It's all the shining brand behind me, and you manage product teams, etc. I think the truth is, early on in my career, I was in totally different industry. I was in mechanical engineering, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was passionate about. And I think one key driver for helping me to get here, one is be okay to explore. Don't set too much limit to yourself. Through my observation, I do notice women tend to set more limitation to themselves, saying, "Oh, that's role too big for me," or "Will I be qualified?" So if you set limit to yourselves, the rest of the world will give you that limit. If you do not believe you deserve that opportunity and deserve to try, no one else will. So don't set limit on yourself. You can dream and become to whoever you want to be and whatever you want to achieve in your career. I think probably limitless, that's probably one of my keywords to drive me here today.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you, Morgan. Kathy, how about you? Can you talk a little bit about how you've driven your own career success?
Thank you, Nashe. First of all, I have to thank you, big thank you to you. Everybody online, can you guys imagine? She just gave birth to a baby 10 days ago. 10 days ago. In our Chinese or Asian culture, you at least bed rest for 1 month. You're already kicking and already helping the community. Really, really appreciate your help. And also, for those who don't know, Nashe went to China to study. So she was a student at the Tsinghua University, one of the top university. And, then she went to University of Chicago. It's amazing. You're constantly investing yourself. So it's wonderful to get to know all of you. So look back of my life. Morgan, I'm with you. So for many people think about success is your wealth, your status. In my own definition, I don't consider myself successful for the general definition, but I would, I always tell myself I'm very satisfied with my life. So my life, there are 3 things has been driven me. Number one is have a big dream. A lot of people heard I'm talking about my story. At the age of 6, at my birthday, I still remember, I will never forget that day. I said that I wanted to travel far. I want to go to as many countries as possible. So because of that dream has been driving every single of my decisions throughout of my career. So from electrical engineer, went into supply chain, went into sales marketing, and the rest is history. So I've been conducting business over 50 countries. So that's having big dream that has been driven me. But of course, I've been moving quite a bit. That's a long story. How do I raise 3 kids with traveling over 2 million miles? So I was the first one walking into the global service lunch at Chicago as an Asian American woman. So that's 1, have a big dream. 2, it's impact driven. A lot of us, doesn't matter women or men, always thinking about, what is my level? What is my responsibility? What I should focus on. So what I'm thinking is, don't care about what your title is. Don't care about your specific responsibility. What impact you could bring to your boss? What impact you could bring to your teams? What impact you could bring to your organization, to your company? So if your impact is there, you can get promoted, right? You can become executive, you can become C-level. So focus on what the impact will be, not only at work, but also at the communities. So that's the impact focus. Number 3, which Nashe mentioned, my motto, impossible means impossible. Like I mentioned earlier, with 3 kids, I still remember, when my kids were all under 3, all under 5. My kids are very close in age. I have twins, then the little one was 2 years apart. I was traveling so much, people say it's impossible, right? But because with this right mindset, with the right partnership, with the right supporting system, you made it possible. Of course, there are many, many stories I could share how they manage it, but today we don't have time. So impossible is impossible. As Nasha also mentioned, I started Fun Fitness since the shelter in place. So by March 28th this month, we are going to celebrate 3 years, every single day. So nobody could believe how possible. No fitness club has been open every single day. No single class has been on every single day. So we made it happen thanks to over 130 volunteers and over 400,000 entries. So impossible is impossible. When you keep that in mind, things will happen. So that has been three elements, as driving me all my life. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for those sharings. I heard some very consistent themes around taking risks, not limiting yourself, and then, focusing on impact. So we will certainly dive into those a little bit more later on in the session. But I do want to switch gears right now and talk a little bit about, managing your life and community fulfillment in addition to your work, because we know that you're all focused on driving success, but also how do you fulfill yourselves at home or within your personal life. So let me start with Morgan.
Sounds good. Little context. I have 2 kids. They are 11 and 9 years old. But I'm also grateful. I have parents live nearby, so have a good supporting structure. So to answer your question, how I take care of myself, I would say I was not good at it, or at least I was not consciously doing that until like pandemic, believe it or not. Because after pandemic, I start to practice yoga. I have nothing better to do. Through practicing yoga, I recognize the power of being aware of my own health, my own feeling, and recognize my excitement, frustration. It's actually, and also take care of my own health. That's becoming, the more I become aware of those things, the more effort I would make to make myself feel good and feel happy and healthy, and then to become a better cycle altogether. So I would say probably exercise, yoga, and that is my routine activities to make myself help myself find inner peace. I also started to do a lot more reading. I listen to more audiobook, and because connecting to and learning from people from those books actually helpful for me. I try to read a variety of different topics. Some could be about career success, or some could be just fun love stories. I do feel give me a Zoom just by myself is important, both emotionally and physically. And if you ask me this question like 3-5 years ago, I was thinking, oh, carve out 1 or 2 hours by myself on the day is like a waste of time or so, too luxury. But later, now I have a very different perspective, because we all, probably lots of women have family or team you need to manage, right? So one thing I recognize is if I'm not happy, I cannot take care of the rest of people who need my attention. That's just a reality. I noticed, to be honest, last quarter I was under a lot of stress, even at work. I felt like my team's actually happiness denominator we do regular survey actually dropped because I was not very happy. And this month I just myself, actually, I can see an immediate impact how I communicate and share my vision with my team members, and my team's the team connection score and overall happiness has increased substantially. So view yourself as a leader, take care of yourself. It's very, very important. At least that's my belief now.
Well, that's great, Morgan. And very good feedback on how, fulfilling yourself can also affect others around you. So thanks for that. Vindhya, could you share a little bit about how you find fulfillment outside of your work?
Yeah, happy to. And I'll pull off of a little bit of what Morgan talked about. So for me, it's really 3 legs of a stool. And a lot of that, you know, the first category, I broadly put it under just deep meaning relationships with people that are important to me, whether that's family or friends. I make an effort to reach out, talk to them, have conversations that either are, you know, macerating in my mind, or I just want an opinion. But having someone to call is, I think, I mean, ironically, the longest data study on the human condition that, you know, is done out of Harvard said, you know, basically the best indicator of longevity is meaningful relationships. So I think that's turned out to be true for me, especially as a transient that's, you know, gone from one country to the other. The second, I'll say, is most certainly my health. I mean, you know, it is sacrosanct for me to start my day off with at least some type of exercise. For me, it's either long distance outdoor cycling or running, and on the weekends, golf, if I can get out there. Yoga is reflective to me. It's a way of, you know, calming the mind. And one of these, there's a iteration of multiple permutations for everybody and what they gravitate towards, but don't shy away from even just a walk is considered good for your mind and your body. And so it's a non-negotiable for me. The third, I will say, is following my passion. And that has become, for me in recent years, the form of work. I love what I do. I absolutely love it. I look forward to the mornings. I get up, I follow every detail because I enjoy it. And when I look at the holistically, these 3 sort of legs, I haven't had all 3 until this last, you know, couple of years in this role that I have. I've either worked super hard at, you know, working out and representing my country or whatever in tennis, and dedicating my life to get, you know, my academia, or, you know, I had tons of good friends, but never all combination of the 3. And when the 3 come together, it is, you will notice a change in your own sort of evolution.
Excellent, and nice framework for us to think about our own fulfillment in life. Kathy, do you have anything to add on fulfillment?
Yeah, I think, you know, both of you already mentioned, right? Love yourself is most critical, right? That's why in Cassie Fun Fitness, every day we're talking about how to love yourself, how to let go, how to invest yourself. Invest yourself, not only exercise, but also always learning, always growing, right? So that's what I focus on, and build a bonding relationship is key. So for past few years, I have been sharing a lot of stories with everyone. Like, I love to watch docudrama movies. So I would ask, what are my kids watching, right? Then when I watch whatever kids love to watch, immediately you could have a conversation with them, because that's what they recommended. And they also feel very happy. Wow, mom respects my recommendations or judgments. Then you really form this strong bonding, and with your husband too. So of course, every day I have to spend so much time and energy with Cassie Fun Fitness. And I got my family, every single one of them, unconditional support. And also, you know, chase your passion. My passion actually was in tennis before, but with this Cassie Fun Fitness, I had to give up. That's one thing I still feel a little bit, you know, uncertain, is when I will have time and energy pick up tennis again, because I was a 4.0 right now. I probably dropped to 1.5. Anyway, just be happy, be healthy. That's I think you set up that example for your coworkers, for your family members, and then people could see, could feel how happy you are, right? Come from bottom of your heart. Thank you.
That's great. So we talked a lot, I think, in the last question about the importance of building meaningful relationships. And I think that's important both in our personal and professional life. So I wanted to switch back to career and talk a little bit about how have you guys leveraged some of your networks like University of Chicago, Alliance for Impact, or other affiliations and groups to influence your career. And I'll turn it to Vindhya first.
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, and I'll just say, if it's not in Chicago, fill in the blank, right? Every network has value. So I'll kind of answer this broadly. I had mentioned that my exit out of Chicago was through a Chicago connection. And I went into the Cancer Treatment Centers of America with that, with that understanding that there is a massive alumni network and there's strong connectivity. I actually did a very bad job of cultivating it outside of trying my darnest, my hardest to ensure that I had a path to business school. And so when it came time to decide what those business school decisions would be, I chose the University of Chicago. And because my network, again, led back to the University of Chicago, I was able to connect so deeply with a lot of the admissions folks. I was able to connect with all of the students. So I started before business school and applying. I basically looked at everybody I knew, coming out of the undergraduate program. And I reached out and I started to say, hey, like, where did everybody go? What did everybody do? And sometimes it was a little overwhelming to, like, are you going to receive me well? I know the last time you saw me was 5 years ago or whatever. It didn't matter. It's just the overwhelming response was, hey, I'd love to talk to you. I'll tell you about the GMAT. It sucks, but you'll get through it. It was just such an overwhelming response overall. But, that's the University of Chicago. I will say, after I left the Cancer Treatment Centers of America and then William Blair, I think I talked to an individual from one of those firms every week, if not every other week, because keeping up with that network, cultivating it, and, reaching out, even if it's just liking something on LinkedIn, maybe even saying, hey, congratulations on your new role. Can you tell me about it? That becomes so incredibly important as you start to think about, hey, what is my career? What is the sort of sphere of influence of my career? And it no longer becomes just about where you went to school or the alliances around that school, but rather more broadly, how did they spread out? Because you'd be surprised how far 6 degrees actually go. But so yeah, let me pause there and I'll pass it on.
Thanks, Vindhya. Morgan, anything to add?
Yeah, I echo what Vidya just said. Really think about longer term and broaden your network and make an effort to keep in touch with folks. I have to be honest, Nashe, you are my role model here. You're always so good at maintaining friendship and staying in touch with folks. Actually, I'm terrible at staying in touch with lots of folks. But similarly, I would say be open to reach out to people, right? And maybe from your old school or from the same country or folks from same hometown or from the same company. You actually have every of us actually have many different networks we could leverage. So really be open to reach out when you need help. If you haven't done a fantastic job to maintain all the touch point like what I have done. So be open to reach out when you need to. People are generally by nature very helpful. They want to advise to other folks, help other folks when they can.
Very helpful. Thanks, Morgan. Kathy, how about from your side?
Yeah, networking is a big topic, right? We all realize how important it is. I'm a recruiter and also executive coach. I tell people over 75% of middle to higher level opportunities are through networking. Nowadays, even the junior positions through networking. So networking relationship is power. When you have relationships, you get information, which companies are hiring, who are the hiring manager, what kind of positions they're hiring, right? Which company promote women, right? Which company is very good for women. So those are very, very powerful. But past few years, because of the pandemic, a lot of people feel stuck. How do I network? I cannot even meet with anyone. I cannot even network with my own family, So thanks to Zoom or any other social media platform, so we could stay connected here. So talking about the University of Chicago, as we all know, University of Chicago has a worldwide night, right? So I still remember one of the things mentioned to me, Cassie, you might be the one been to most countries worldwide night. Because on that night, I was in London, was in Helsinki, was in Paris, was in Taiwan, was in Chicago, New York. So it's wonderful. Whichever country you go, happen to be in that day, worldwide, the same night, we're celebrating alumni night. So that has been very, very powerful night. And talking about the Nashe, I still remember how I met you. Do you remember? So I met Nashe. It's a very interesting experience. One day, one of my recruiters called me and say, Kathy, there is this brilliant young lady you have to meet. I said, oh, really? Oh, I remember you went to University of Chicago, right? I said, yes. Oh, this lady also went to University of Chicago, and she speaks fluent Chinese, and she's a white girl. And she went to Tsinghua University. So that's how I met Nashe, and we have become very good friends. And the rest is history. That's the power of networking. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great tips on how to stay connected too. I think the virtual platforms are really helpful to be able to ping each other on LinkedIn and maintain that network. So. Excellent. So earlier we were talking a little bit about taking risks, and I wanted to talk a little bit about career progression and how do you know that you're, keeping a pulse on your career, knowing that you're making progress. Even in some cases, you might have to take a lateral move, but just making sure that you continue to progress in your career. So maybe I'll start off with Kathy on this one.
Many people have to make lateral moves for all different reasons, especially for women, right? Because we start a family, we have kids. For example, when I was pregnant with my daughter, that's like an unexpected surprise. My boys were just 2, and that was really, really a tough time, my pregnancy. So I took a year off. Well, that was a huge decision, because I could not really handle it, and at the time my dad was very sick, and unfortunately he passed away when I was pregnant with my daughter for 5 months, and the family income dropped half. So that was a tough time. But then think about, we have to take care of ourselves first. Otherwise you just really depressed and you go crazy, right? And also, when I decided to take a job in Finland, while I have other jobs in US and Hong Kong and Singapore, and that was from big managerial position, I took an individual contributor position and went into consulting business. So because remember, my big dream is to travel to as many countries as possible. So nobody would travel to Finland or went to Finland to take a job there, right? But I still remember there were like 300 American women. I consider myself to be American women, and also Chinese American. There were over 300 American women members. There were only 2 of us had jobs because it's so difficult to get a job visa there. But when I focused on the impact, so very quickly within 1 year, from individual contributor, I became the senior partner of a top consulting firm, and later I built branches in New York, in Shanghai. So the rest, just the history. You took a lateral move to learn more and to give yourself a break, and also to discover yourself. But you get yourself ready and move forward. Thank you.
That's great. Very inspiring, Kathy. Vindhya or Morgan?
Happy to hit some notes there. So I think what I've heard from Kathy, and it's an interesting, an interesting sort of realization as she was talking through it. When I've taken a lateral role, and it was at least in one scenario, I realized I kind of flipped the script to ask myself, well, why am I considering if it's something that makes me unhappy? So at the bare minimum, it's either a better opportunity that's that needs to be sort of crafted that way in my mind, or perhaps, you worry about what other people think, but that's a whole other equation. Or second, perhaps there's a way to negotiate something in return that makes it a much more attractive offer, right? So when I left banking and I went into a much higher, very high risk sort of role, here's kind of how I thought about it. I liked banking and I liked the certainty of everybody understands why banking can be attractive and lucrative. I didn't necessarily want to leave that, but I wanted to have autonomy and upside in how I was spending my time. Well, that comes at you're now having other levels to pull. So I said, I don't really care about the title, frankly. I don't even care what you want to pay me. Let me manage my lifestyle costs or whatever it is. But if you guys are willing to talk to me about equity and how much and the economics, if you can make those economics interesting, then yeah, the whole world might look at it as, gosh, I can't believe that. That's crazy. Why would someone leave? When you have on track to do X. Well, because it meant something to me. It meant something different to me. It was an opportunity. So I think lateral moves are often someone else's narrative. So I'd encourage everyone to make it their own.
Yeah, I think I did many lateral moves throughout my career, actually probably 3-4 times, believe it or not, because I indeed did lots of exploration in my career. I switched my role from engineer to consulting, and then to business operations, and then back to product. And also I changed the industry many times, from manufacturing to consulting into tech. So as a result, because my random walk, I did lateral move many times. So there are a couple of things there. One is I'm grateful all those random wander paths give me a lot of variety of experience. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to work with many different type of people in very different functions and different industries. And the two is, once come to if I have to do a self-reflection, lessons learned, one thing I recognize is as you decide the next move, really think about long-term first. Long-term, I'm not saying you have to know I want to be a CEO of XYZ company, not necessarily need to be your long-term goal, but really think about long-term, what you are passionate about, roughly with your best knowledge now, where do you want to land 10 years from now and 20 years from now, right? For example, you probably don't know exactly which company or role, but at least roughly, if in my best dream, 10 years from now, I wanted to be a chief product officer of X type of company. You probably can have that type of goal and dream set for yourself now. And then think about, if that's your passion, whether the next move makes sense or not. Because if that move makes sense, we'll connect dots to your long-term, regardless of the location or short-term pay cut or whatever, the prestige cut, loss, whatever, it probably all worth it. But if you're just optimizing, more me. One point I was optimizing, next job I want to optimizing for pay bump. Next job I want to optimize for leadership visibility. I recognize after I done it for 2-3 times, I'm just spinning in a circle without truly getting anywhere, make myself truly fulfilled, and nowhere close to align to my long-term vision. But the one thing like everything I said, one thing I indeed missed was I never had long-term vision to see where I could be in 10 to 20 years. And now I feel like I'm still exploring, but I'm getting more clear on that.
Very helpful. Thanks, everyone. I think a common thread that I heard is really to make sure it's something you're passionate about and make it your own your next move. So we had a question in the chat that I wanted to ask the panelists. So there's a question about cold calling. Have you guys done cold calling through your networks, either University of Chicago or another alumni or a network affiliation? And if so, did you receive responses, like maybe approximate hit rate, or any other tips for people that are thinking about doing some cold calling? Oh,
Yeah.
and okay, Vindhya, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to weigh in here. So part of my role is to find companies that could be good acquisitions for Revelier. And oftentimes, while you think almost every company that's out there, I love going out there and finding innovative solutions that solve the problem that we're trying to solve. And oftentimes, I have no connect on LinkedIn, which is great. Guess what I do? Find a way, rocket reach, whatever. I'll see if I can find an email that works. But the email I write has to have something meaningful. It can't just be, hey, I'd love to connect with you. No, it's, you've just built this wonderful, solution that really gets to the heart of the risk adjustment problem for health plans. I've come across you in these circles, would love to chat with you. Here are some times that might work. Make it easy for them to say, yes, and then, that's perhaps I spend a lot of time doing that kind of cold calling, if you will, but I never do it if it's just to see if someone responds.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Love those tips too on offering your availability so they have an easy response and a time they can directly set up on.
Yeah, I could share some of my experience more probably when I was looking for jobs. That's one part. There are two parts here. One is on the tactical side. I received lots of coaching training from Booth Business School Career Center, and they taught me a lot. Essentially, similar like what Vidya said, when to Irene's question, when you look for jobs, start with your immediate network first on LinkedIn, right? And reach out to people and people you had some connection with. For example, if you are a data science and you're trying to find similar jobs, you probably want to start with people have similar degree or people in the type of companies or type of roles you are interested in. Start from there. And when you reach out to them, start with a quick, sweet message and talk about why it's relevant to talk to you. What do you have in common with them? And not everyone will pay attention to your message right away. If they don't respond in a week, follow up. If still not respond, just continue with other folks, right? Also, once you have a good conversation with your network, be okay to say, if you feel it's a good fit, be okay to ask saying, can you introduce me to so-and-so in your company or similar roles? Or would you be open to refer me for the job? Or would you be okay to recommend me to get to know someone else in that type of roles? Be okay to ask. The worst case, they just say no, right? Not the end of the world. You will never get it if you don't ask. The second part, actually, so what I just said is the first part on the tactical side. The second part is on the emotional side, right? Most of the times when you cold calling people, the person who feels shy and feel hurt when people don't respond, actually just ourselves. We are the only one who care and who feel some emotional damage when people don't respond. Other people don't care. So we have one priority, which is find the best job you want to land on. So just keep moving forward. Don't worry too much about like 50% of them respond or 30% respond. Who cares? You will just keep moving forward until you receive your next dream job offer. That's the goal. The rest is just a small roadblock. So you'll get over the hump. So don't just scare yourself. Just keep moving forward. Just do it.
Love that, Morgan. Thanks. And it's definitely true that we're always the ones that are the most hurt, right? Kathy, anything to add especially from the recruiting side?
Yeah, from the recruiting side, as you guys know, most times recruiters have to make cold calls. But if you have warm leads, if you have the network, it's so much easier. Also, for example, myself, I have few thousand of dancers, right? And so many students, they all reach out to me. Seriously, I don't have time to answer every single call. including some of my volunteers gets frustrated. Cassie, I need you to make a decision. Why you don't even answer my call? I cannot see every single message. So sometimes don't take it personally. You have to think about, the target you are reaching, how busy they are. I'll give you guys an example. One of the very, very good coach, and he's a billion-dollar company COO. So he likes to give back to the community. He likes to give career talks. Every single talk, hundreds of people reaching out to him. I need your mentorship, right? So he said, Cassie, I cannot handle it. And some people just not giving up, keep calling me, keep pursuing me. So when he opened up a group coaching class, and some people sign up, some people don't, still engaging him. So that could frustrate him as well. He said, okay, if you seriously think about the invest yourself, talking about your career development, I make my time for this group coaching, you could sign up instead of constantly chasing me and I don't really have time. So just examples, how do you engage people? How do you, leverage the relationship and how to invest yourself? Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So next question is a little bit similar topic, but there is a lot of market uncertainty looming, I think, and already in the works. So what do you guys do to stay ahead, or any tips for audience members?
Because I keep a corporate job, that's probably where lots of uncertainty. So I would say this is two things how I at least telling myself. One is I think to Kathy's point early on, right? Really focus on impact, continue to make myself to be more valuable for the team, for the company, to bring impact, to be a better leader, to be a better product strategist, etc., and to be able to influence up and down way more effectively. I think to me that is always the number one priority, because the reality is, if you were a company's employee, you just have to, one hand, you hope work for a great company. On the other hand, if company need to cut headcount, etc., there's not much you can do about it. And the only thing within your control is to make yourself to be more valuable. So regardless where you end up going, you will become, you can make it, right? That type of confidence can be built by yourself. Second one is, I always tell myself is I'm very grateful having a corporate job, because regardless how big the economy, and certainly like you see the news, like this company cut 5% and that company cut 10%, the risk and the uncertainty really is so small compared to what Kathy or Vindia have to go through when they manage startups and smaller companies. It's not comparable, the amount of the risk and the uncertainty they have to deal with. So if you're in a corporate job like me, actually I'm thinking the amount of uncertainty actually very little compared to the ambiguity other folks have to deal with in startup world. So I'm not saying which is good or bad. I'm just saying when you felt like, oh, so uncertain, you just felt, oh, and actually people there overcome bigger uncertainty and bigger challenges. I'm actually in a pretty comfy and stable stage compared to them. And also, in case something happened to my job uncertainty, I know I can make it because I'm keeping improving myself every day.
That's great. Thanks, Morgan. Vindia or Kathy? Anything
I'm
to add?
talking about, I think all of us probably will remember, expect the unexpected. You guys all remember, all the exams at the University of Chicago. You can never prepare for it, right? When you have a cheat sheet, when you review it, 100% time, when the exams come out, we look at each other. This is totally not what we prepared for. I think that really prepared us for life, right? We don't know what is coming, right? A lot of uncertainties, but if you, build yourself, you keep investing self and have a curious mind, keep learning, right? And also don't give up. have a growth mindset. It's like a impossible, I'm possible. So you will manage the risk. You will take a calculated risk as well.
Yeah, and start maybe, for me, it's like seeding conversations, always keeping up, as I said, about, talking to everybody that might be relevant to you in your next role, if you think that is indeed in your near-term horizon. And start seeing those conversations now, because think of it like a pipeline. It takes 6 to 12 months to build a true pipeline. So, expect it, as Kathy said it, the unexpected can be around the corner, but at least when you have you aren't getting a cold start, if you find yourself in that situation, to call at least 3 advisors, a few folks that are doing something different, and it'll spark some type of potential solution.
Perfect. And kind of on the same lines of uncertainty and making career transitions, all of you have, over the course of your career, changed industries at one point or another. So do you have any tips on how people can kind of explore and understand what industries or professions they're most passionate about, especially if they're unhappy in their current career?
I can start. I think, especially after the pandemic, and I think a lot of people's mindset change. Life is so short. Money is not everything. I want to find the things I enjoy to do, right? I want to find a boss I enjoy to work with. So this has been driving the decision. So I think knowing yourself, do a self-assessment. We call about SWOT analysis, right? From Chicago, we all know not only Morgan, not only work on your product, do a SWOT analysis. I think every single of us have to do a SWOT analysis, which is the strengths, weakness, opportunities. What is the next one? But anyway, threat, right? So when you understand your well, and then keep an open mind for different opportunities. I think all of us have a very, very diverse career. We have switched industries. We have switched occupation. And because, we also have children, you make different decisions based on your life stage as well. Like Nasha, you had a huge job. You refused it because you have this new baby. So I think it's really, you have to know yourself well, follow your own heart. Don't just look at, what he's doing or what she's doing, I have to do the same.
Thanks. All right, and kind of on the topic of personal development, there's a question from the chat on how do you balance your self-development and your children's education? Yeah, I can take that one. I would say probably for this case, I'm taking a little bit different approach compared to lots of Asian parents and my friends I've observed, because typically my observation is Asian parents, especially an Asian mom, really devote themselves to take kids everywhere for like after school curriculum, etc. And so I have a different philosophy there. One is I believe in role modeling. I believe if I can continue to grow myself to be a better version of myself in my career or in my mental health or physical health, naturally my kids will take my lesson learned and do better than me. So I believe I need to invest in myself first. I prioritize investing in myself. Second is when it comes to kids development, I try to combine my hobby with kids development. For example, if I take my kids daughter to soccer, I would run around the track when my younger daughter plays soccer. Or if I want to do travel, I would try to use that opportunity to help kids to see the world and see things they like to see, but also travel to the place I like to do. So I'm trying to combine a little bit. So that's how I approach this topic. Oh, that's great. Thanks, Morgan. Good tips on running around the track when your kids are playing soccer.
Yeah, in India, I know you're good at tennis player. I learned to play tennis by just learning with my kids. When my kids start to learn to play tennis at the age of 4, I started also play tennis with them to practice with them. And then I kind of like grew up with them. And like Morgan mentioned, the power of example, right? Like I have been leading people dance every single day for 3 years. I still remember during the shutdown time when my music is on, my kids get very frustrated, right? The music is so loud and they could not play games. So hey, they use the same time to work out on themselves. Now they also have a great habit of working out every day. So this is a powerful example. And sometimes I feel so guilty. All my kids' birthdays every day, 4:30 to 5:30, I cannot be having fun or family vacation or movies. But every single one of my family members supported very much because they see the impact I have brought to the communities. They have seen how many people following dance every single day and be happy, be healthy. So I think instead of you educate your kids and tell them what to do, you do it yourself first, right? And the kids, they are actually smarter than you expected. Thank you.
Excellent. Another question from the chat. I think this will be the last question from the chat, and then we'll do one last question to wrap it up. But do you have a takeaway or words of encouragement for risk-averse people to encourage them to take risks?
I can take the one because I'm highly risk-averse because my mom is a professor in college. As I grow up in China, everything I was taught is that get the best grades, go to the best company, and take a stable job. I would say this is how you could think about it if you are super risk averse. One is you not necessarily need to take the biggest risk, right? You don't need to ask yourself to quit your job next day without knowing what to do next, right? Instead, think about taking risks as a journey. Part of the journey is about exploring what's out there, what you like to do. What that means is you could take a parallel approach, right? If you have like some part-time or a full-time job, maybe you could use your spare time to say, oh, can I flip a house? Am I actually into real estate investments? You don't need to quit job to do that, right? Or if you say, oh, I want to learn UX design, can you just pay $200 to take a Udemy class online to see if that's a topic you're interested in? Or if you want to explore like being a data scientist, can you take on a small project within your current job to say, hey, I volunteer myself, can I just partner with XYZ to help the team to complete this data analytics job? So exploring what's out there first and bring value, and gradually you will know when it's ready to take the risk. So you don't need to like all of a sudden to do the flip thing overnight, right?
Yeah.
Excellent.
If I may do a 30-second, I was very risk averse. I mean, I've relied my entirety of my success in my career on tangible, predictable outcomes. However, I will say I have become more risk loving by reinventing myself. And I reinvented myself a few times over the last, 15, 20 odd years that I've been working. And it's in small ways. When I spent 5 years in investment banking, at the end of it, I found myself to be a little bit too box shaped for my own liking. So I reinvented myself. I opened I started a Instagram page on food, fitness, wellness. Why? Because it made me wholly uncomfortable. But I loved it. I loved all these things I was doing. I just wasn't sharing it. I wasn't, and I thought maybe I can start to think of myself in the way I would like to be seen. And that has led on to bite-sized pieces of taking on bigger steps in my stride, and then slowing down in my stride in other ways. So, these are, I think reinventing myself has been a way in which I've changed my sort of mindset about taking risk.
Yeah, in general, I'm a big risk taker. I think because of my big dream, right? When you want to travel so many places, see so many different culture, and that kind of decided my fate. So in my mind, I always feel like life is short. Just enjoy different things, right? as long as you're happy, as long as you're healthy. That's why a lot of people said, Kathy, I cannot hear your story. It drives me crazy because how can you drag 3 kids moving so many places, right? From Hong Kong, Chicago to Finland to New York to San Diego to San Francisco. How can you drag 3 kids and moving so much and still flying so much? So, but when you really constantly, the mindset is constantly get out of your comfort zone. Every day is a brand new day. You feel the life is so beautiful. So that's in my mindset. Like I said, my focus is not on the wealth. My focus is not on the status. It's really how to live every day and be happy, be healthy, and also learn things new. See new places, meet new people. So is your mindset.
Excellent. Thank you. Big thank you to our panelists, Kathy, Morgan, Vindhya. It's been a really enlightening and encouraging discussion that we've had today. I also want to send a big thanks to our sponsors, the University of Chicago Women's Alliance, University of Chicago Booth Women's Network, My Tea Coach, Dragon Eagle TV, and the Alliance for Impact. And also would like to thank our audience members for tuning in today. I've really enjoyed the discussion. I certainly had the opportunity to learn a lot, and look forward to the next event with all of you. So thank you all for tuning in today, and have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you,
Nashe.
Nashe. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, for
Thank
those
you.
mighty members, you could stay online, and our Google coach, we're talking about his communication, how to build a superpower. And thank you all for those who want to stay online and listen to Mighty Coach has to offer for your professional development. Thank you. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Kathy.
Hey, now the floor is yours.
Oh, my goodness. Well, do you mind if I share a slide?
Go ahead. You
Okay,
have
let's
the
see.
floor.
Well, that's very kind of you, Kathy.
Yeah.
Happy
大家
Women's
好啊，现在是 Coach Joe. Joe, you're on your screen shows Mark Nadell. You guys in same person now?
Oh, that's a strange one. Boy, they haven't had that happen yet. I think we think alike way too much. So that's probably what's happening.